Andy Johnson. We're looking at some tips for developing motivation for learning in the classroom. First of all, mastery versus performance goal. A mastery goal is when the learner wants to actually master or learn the material. That is related to intrinsic motivation. They want to know it comes from within versus simply passing the course. Motivating students to learn, teachers have mastery expectations. They expect students to actually learn the material instead of simply pass the course. So they are motivated to get students to learn the material. The opposite of this is a performance goal where the learner just wants to pass the course, just wants to do better on the test to get the grade. That is external motivation or extrinsic motivation. Mastery expectations, of course, the teacher then expects the students simply to pass the test, to do well on the test, to pass the course, etc., etc. That's out there. We need a little bit of both, but you can see how the goals reflect a difference in behavior, desire to gain knowledge and skills, or a desire to look competent in others' eyes. For real learning to occur, high-level learning to occur, we need a little bit of both, but we also need intrinsic motivation. I really want to learn this material, mastery goals, and mastery expectations. And part of that is the onus is on the teacher for developing a classroom that has these expectations, teacher expectations, and learner goals. Developing motivation for learning in the classroom is self-regulated learners. The learner is able to set personal goals and use strategies to get there. Again, there is some motivation there, but you have to help the student learn how to set and work towards appropriate goals. So teachers have a responsibility to develop this. We can't simply blame the students because they're organized and can't work towards a goal. We have to teach them. They are not born this way. Remember, this humanistic orientation, all students naturally want to learn, but things get in the way. This motivation to learn also has to do with value expectancy theory. If you value what's being learned and you expect to be able to learn, then you are motivated. If either value or expectancy is zero, motivation will be zero. So this all has to do with creating self-regulated learners. You are able to set goals and then steps to get there. Part of this, too, is not frustrating our students, teaching within the zone of proximal development. That means just a little above their independent level, and you provide the structure that enables them to work just a little above their independent level. Teaching within the zone of proximal development. Part of our job for creating self-regulated learners as well, that you help students identify appropriate goals and the steps to get there, just a little bit above where they're at. Now, self-regulation doesn't have to do with just behavior. It can be academic, social, and other goals. Set appropriate goals, not too high, and help them identify steps to get there. This also means providing students, teaching them the tools and the strategies that they need to get there. Think of ourselves as coaches. What do we need to do to get our wrestlers, our gymnasts, to be able to perform at the level they need to do to reach their full potential? Self-determination has to do with the ability to determine one destiny or life decisions, to make the decisions about how and where to live, all right, outside of school, but in school, how to learn, how best to learn, what do you want to learn? But they learn these life skills by having some autonomy within the classroom, all right? So we have to, part of our job is to teach students, again, the organizational skills, how to make lists, how to keep a calendar, how to study, how to be on time. Those sorts of things all help students develop self-determination. Personal teaching efficacy has to do with motivating your students to want to learn in the classroom. You believe in yourself that you are capable of teaching these students, of making an impact. And by the way, all teachers have lessons that don't go just so. If you have never failed, you have not tried enough things. You need to be able to push the boundaries. We all have bad lessons. We all make mistakes. We all have things that just don't go the way we want to. Champions and excellent teachers are determined not by their wins, but by how they pick themselves up when they have failures. And you're going to have things that don't go just right in your life. As a teacher, you can be as good as you want to be. And I used to tell this to my wrestlers, you can be as good as you want to be or as bad as you deserve to be. Being a good teacher is simply preparing, learning, having the knowledge, and planning. It's not that difficult. You just have to put in the work. And successful teachers take responsibility. If my students don't learn, it's my fault. What can I do different? Teaching is knowing, planning, doing, and reflecting. What can I do differently? You can affect motivation to learn in your classroom. Effective teachers model enthusiasm. You're interested and excited about what you are going to learn. If you think it's boring, I guarantee you your students will think it's boring. So part of your job as a teacher is to create interesting and relevant learning experiences. Sometimes you have to make the boring interesting. Sometimes you have to make the irrelevant relevant. If you have a choice, don't teach boring and lame stuff, all right? Bring your passion into the classroom, bring your interest into the classroom, and yes, if you have a defined curriculum, that's fine. That doesn't mean you can't pep it up a little bit, you can't change it a little bit. Even in the most structured curriculum, there is room, hopefully, to enhance that curriculum. Climate variables related to structure in your classroom. Nobody likes chaos. There is this nice continuum, chaos on the one side and absolute control on the other side. Nobody likes control either. Structure is that place right in the middle where you have routines, where students know what is expected, where there's logical consequences. Now, structure is a sliding variable. With some students, structure moves more to the control side, and with other classes, structure moves more to the chaos side, all right, depending on your students. And again, I find that the same way with my undergrad students as well as my second grade students. Structure is dependent on the students and their ability to handle structure. Instructional variables that enhance motivation for learning. First of all, a good teacher identifies an introductory focus. Let students know, boys and girls, we are learning this today. This is our focus. Good teachers have purposeful instruction. The goal is for students to learn something. I have a purpose. This is what I want to teach today. I'm not simply doing an activity or just taking up time. This is purposeful. Effective teachers provide an advanced organizer. An advanced organizer is anything that enables students to see the structure of what is to be learned, to see or hear. Sometimes it is a visual graphic organizer. Sometimes an advanced organizer can be verbal. Today we are going to learn A, B, and C. Effective teachers connect the lessons to students' lives somehow, so it is not so irrelevant, so abstract. They connect it to students' real-life experiences and somehow. They connect the new to the known. This makes it less apt to be rote learning. Meaningful learning is being able to connect the new to the known. And this also enables students to use the knowledge in their head to make sense of the new knowledge. Very important. Connect new things to known things. And effective teachers provide structured input. It's organized. It's not just higgly-piggly and random. This is why I so much stress the importance of planning and using list or outline forms so you can actually see the structure and the sequence of what is to be learned. Just some ideas, some tips for developing learning motivation in the classroom.